For decades, Harley-Davidson riders have argued about which engine is best: panhead versus shovelhead, shovelhead versus evolution, evolution versus twin cam, and now the latest debate, Milwaukee-Eight versus twin cam. Most people assume the newer engine is better: more technology, more power, more refinement. The Milwaukee-Eight replaced the twin cam starting in 2017, so obviously it's an improvement, right? Wrong. I'm about to make a statement that's going to make Harley executives furious and start arguments in the comments. The Milwaukee-Eight M8 is actually worse than the twin cam engine it replaced, and I'm not alone in this opinion. Mechanics who work on these engines every single day agree with me. Independent shop owners who've torn down hundreds of both engines agree with me. Longtime Harley riders who've owned both platforms agree with me. In this video, I'm exposing why the Milwaukee-Eight, despite being newer and more advanced on paper, is actually a worse engine than the twin cam in the ways that matter most to riders: reliability, longevity, cost of ownership, repairability, sound, character. The M8 loses on almost every metric. If you own a Milwaukee-Eight, or you're thinking about buying one, you need to hear this. And if you're a twin cam owner, being told you should upgrade, this video will make you feel a lot better about keeping what you have. Make sure you're subscribed, because this is the kind of honest, controversial content that Harley dealers hate. Hit that notification bell. Smash the like button if you're ready for some truth. And let's expose why the Milwaukee-Eight is worse than the twin cam. Let's start with the most critical issue: reliability. The Milwaukee-Eight, specifically 2017, 2018, and 2019 models, has a catastrophic design flaw that the twin cam never had: oil sumping. I've covered this extensively in other videos, but it's worth repeating because it's the single biggest problem with the early M8 engines. Oil sumping occurs when the scavenge side of the oil pump cannot adequately remove oil from the crankcase. Oil accumulates in the bottom end, gets churned into foam by the spinning crankshaft and flywheels, and loses its lubricating properties. Critical engine components, bearings, cams, pistons, start running with inadequate lubrication. Over time, this causes accelerated wear and eventually catastrophic failure. Harley-Davidson issued Technical Service Bulletin M1450 acknowledging this problem. They redesigned the oil pump for 2020 models with a larger scavenge capacity, but they never recalled 2017, 2018, 2019 models. They never offered free retrofits. They left hundreds of thousands of customers riding motorcycles with defective engines that could fail at any time. The twin cam had its problems, and we'll get to those, but it never had a systemic design flaw that caused the oil system to fail and destroy engines. Twin cam problems were mostly related to wear items and maintenance-related issues. Cam, chain tensioners wore out and needed replacement. Cam bearings could fail, but those were predictable, preventable problems that could be addressed before they caused catastrophic damage. Oil sumping in the Milwaukee-Eight is unpredictable and catastrophic. You can do everything right, maintain your bike perfectly according to the manual, change your oil every 2,500 miles with premium synthetic, keep detailed service records, baby your bike, and still experience oil sumping that destroys your engine with no warning. Mechanics I've spoken with have told me they see far more catastrophic M8 failures than they ever saw with twin cams. Engines with less than 20,000 miles, some with as little as 8,000 miles, that need complete rebuilds costing $8,500 to $12,000 because of oil sumping damage. That never happened with twin cams. You could ride a twin cam 100,000 miles, even 150,000 miles, if you maintained it properly and addressed the known common issues. You cannot say the same about 2017 to 2019 Milwaukee-Eights. There are bikes being totaled, written off, because the cost of rebuilding the engine exceeds the value of the motorcycle. That's a disaster. And here's what makes the oil sumping issue even worse from a customer trust perspective. Harley knew about it. They had reports coming in from dealers and customers within the first year of M8 production. By 2018, it was clear there was a problem. But Harley didn't issue the TSB until 2019. And even then, they downplayed it as a minor issue affecting a small number of bikes under specific conditions. They claimed it was due to extended idling or low-speed riding, implying it was the customer's fault for how they rode. That's gaslighting. The reality is, the scavenge pump was undersized for the engine's needs and it couldn't keep up under normal operating conditions. It wasn't customer error. It was a design defect. But instead of immediately recalling every 2017 and 2018 bike and retrofitting the updated pump for free, Harley tried to minimize the issue, deny warranty claims when they could, and hope it would go away quietly. That's not how you treat customers who just paid $20,000 to $30,000 for a motorcycle they expected to last decades. The twin cam had problems over its 18-year production run, but Harley never deliberately hid a catastrophic defect affecting 3 full model years. That breach of trust with M8 owners is something Harley will never fully repair. Let's talk about another critical reliability issue with the Milwaukee-Eight: cam chain tensioners. Now, the twin cam also had cam chain tensioner problems, so this isn't a situation where the M8 is necessarily worse, but it proves that Harley didn't learn from past mistakes. The early twin cam 88 engines, specifically 1999 to 2006 models, used plastic shoe hydraulic cam chain tensioners that wore out prematurely. The plastic shoes would wear down, sometimes break apart, and send plastic shavings throughout the oil system. Those plastic particles would get into bearings, cams, and other critical components, causing catastrophic failures. It was a terrible design flaw that destroyed countless engines. Harley eventually addressed it by switching to improved spring-loaded tensioners in later twin-cam models, and by 2007 plus, the issue was mostly resolved. But here's the inexcusable part. When Harley designed the Milwaukee-Eight, a completely new engine platform that they had years to develop, they still couldn't get the cam chain tensioners right. The M8 uses hydraulic tensioners that have their own set of problems. They can stick, fail to maintain proper tension, allow excessive chain slap, and cause timing issues. Mechanics report replacing failed M8 tensioners on bikes with as little as 15,000 to 20,000 miles. That's absolutely unacceptable for a modern engine that's supposed to represent Harley's latest and greatest engineering. The point is, Harley has had literally decades to perfect cam chain tensioner design across multiple engine platforms: the Sportster Evolution, the Big Twin Evolution, the Twin Cam, and now the Milwaukee-Eight. And they still haven't figured it out. The M8 tensioners are marginally better than the early twin-cam plastic shoes, but they're not demonstrably better than the later improved twin-cam tensioners. It's basically a wash. Neither engine has a truly bulletproof, maintenance-free tensioner solution, which is frankly embarrassing for a company that's been building V-twin engines for over 120 years and charges premium prices. If you're going to replace the twin cam with a new engine, at minimum, you should solve the problems the old engine had. Harley didn't do that. Now let's discuss heat management, which is a major issue for both engines, but one where the Milwaukee-Eight actually fails to improve over the twin cam, despite having every opportunity to do so. One of the biggest complaints about the twin cam, especially the 96 and 103 cubic inch fuel-injected models produced from 2007 onwards, was excessive heat. The engines ran hot, especially in stop-and-go traffic, during extended idling, or when riding in hot weather. Riders complained bitterly about heat radiating up from the engine and cooking their legs, particularly the inner thighs where they grip the tank. The rear cylinder in particular would get incredibly hot because of its position tucked under the seat and the limited airflow it received compared to the front cylinder. On touring bikes like road glides and street glides, the fairing trapped even more heat around the engine and rider. It was a legitimate problem that affected rider comfort, especially on long summer rides. Harley partially addressed this in later twin-cam models with improved cooling fin design, better heat shielding, and in some cases optional oil coolers, but it remained an issue throughout the twin-cam's production run. So you'd think the Milwaukee-Eight, being a brand new engine design developed with the benefit of 18 years of twin-cam feedback, would finally solve the heat problem, right? Absolutely not. The Milwaukee-Eight runs just as hot as the twin-cam, and in many situations, even hotter. Why? Because Harley made the M8 more powerful, with higher compression ratios and more aggressive tuning, which means it generates more thermal energy. They did improve the cooling fin design and airflow path slightly, increasing the fin area and optimizing the shape for better heat dissipation. But those improvements were not enough to offset the additional heat generated by the increased power output. The net result is that M8 owners complain about heat just as much as twin cam owners did. Go read forums, Facebook groups, Reddit threads. My 2018 Street Glide runs so hot in traffic I can barely stand it. My M8 Road King cooks my legs worse than my old twin cam Dyna. The heat from my 2019 Ultra Limited is unbearable in summer. These are constant refrains. There's no improvement here whatsoever. Some riders actually say their M8 touring bikes feel noticeably hotter than their previous twin-cam bikes, especially when sitting in traffic on hot days with the engine heat soaking into the frame and bodywork. If anything, this is a tie at best between the two platforms, and possibly a slight advantage to later twin-cam models that had aftermarket oil cooler options and better heat management accessories available. The Milwaukee-Eight did not solve the heat problem, despite Harley having over a decade after the twin-cam's introduction to figure it out. That's engineering failure, plain and simple. Let's talk about sound and character, which might seem subjective, but it matters enormously to Harley-Davidson riders. The twin cam had a distinctive, unmistakable sound. It sounded like a Harley is supposed to sound: deep, lopey, mechanical, powerful, soulful. Even bone-stock twin cams with stock exhaust and stock tuning had auditory character and presence. They had a heartbeat. They sounded angry and alive. When you started a twin cam, especially a 103 or 110, you felt it in your chest. The exhaust note had depth and texture. It had that classic Harley potato idle. It turned heads. The Milwaukee-Eight sounds sterile and soulless in comparison. Multiple riders and reviewers who've owned or extensively ridden both engine platforms describe the M8 as having what they call a metric whine, or sewing machine character. It's smoother, more refined, quieter, more civilized. The exhaust note is higher pitched and less textured. The mechanical sounds are muted. The engine doesn't have the same visceral presence. Some people like that smoothness and refinement. They want a quiet, civilized motorcycle that doesn't announce itself to the entire neighborhood. But to traditional Harley riders who grew up with shovel heads, evolutions, and twin cams, the M8 sounds fundamentally wrong. It doesn't sound like a Harley should sound. It sounds like Harley tried to make their engine more like a Japanese cruiser or a European bike, smooth and refined and inoffensive. And in doing so, they lost the character, the soul, the personality that made Harley-Davidson motorcycles special and distinctive. Now, you can modify the M8 with aftermarket cams, exhaust systems, and tuning to give it more character, just like you can with any engine. But out of the box, stock to stock, the twin cam sounds dramatically better. It has more personality. It has more presence. It sounds like a Harley. And for a huge percentage of Harley riders, that auditory character matters more than a few extra horsepower or slightly smoother power delivery. One mechanic I spoke with, a guy who's worked at Harley dealers for 15 years, said this: "Customers come into our shop with brand new M8 bikes all the time, sometimes with less than 1,000 miles on them, asking what they can do to make the bike sound more like their old twin cam. They want that deep, throaty sound back. Nobody, and I mean nobody, with a twin cam ever came in asking how to make it sound more like a metric bike or a smoother, quieter engine." That tells you everything you need to know about which engine has better character. The Milwaukee-Eight traded soul for smoothness, and a significant portion of Harley's core customer base considers that an unforgivable downgrade. Now let's discuss repairability and cost of ownership, which is where the Milwaukee-Eight really starts to look terrible compared to the twin cam. The twin cam is a relatively simple, straightforward, conventional pushrod V-twin engine. It's been around since 1999, so there are 26 years of collective knowledge, aftermarket support, repair procedures, common problem solutions, and mechanic expertise built up around the platform. Independent mechanics who work on American V-twins know twin cams inside and out. They've seen every problem, diagnosed every weird noise, repaired every failure mode hundreds of times. Parts are widely available from multiple sources, both OEM through Harley and aftermarket through dozens of companies. Prices are competitive because there's robust competition among suppliers. Most routine maintenance and even significant repairs can be done with basic hand tools in a home garage by a competent DIY mechanic who's comfortable working on motorcycles. The Milwaukee-Eight is far more complex in almost every way. It has 4 valves per cylinder instead of 2, which means more valve train components, more adjustment points, more things to wear out. It has dual spark plugs per cylinder, 16 spark plugs total versus 8 on a twin cam, which means plug changes cost twice as much and take twice as long. It has a more complex oiling system with the problematic sumping-prone design we discussed earlier. It has more sophisticated electronics integrated into the engine management system, requiring dealer-level diagnostic tools to troubleshoot many issues. All of that complexity makes the M8 significantly harder to work on and dramatically more expensive to repair when things go wrong. Many repairs that a skilled DIY mechanic could confidently handle on a twin cam require specialized tools, diagnostic equipment, and dealer-level expertise on an M8. Independent shops are hesitant to work on M8s if they don't have significant experience with the platform because there's more risk of misdiagnosis or doing something wrong. That forces owners to go to Harley dealers who charge $120 to $150 per hour labor rates. Let's talk about specific examples of how the M8's complexity increases cost of ownership. Spark plugs. On a twin-cam touring bike, changing spark plugs is a relatively straightforward job that takes maybe an hour. You might have to remove the seat and one or two small panels to access the rear cylinder plugs, but it's doable with basic tools. On a Milwaukee-Eight touring bike, you have to remove the entire fuel tank to access the rear cylinder spark plugs because of how the engine and frame are packaged. That turns a simple 30 to 45-minute maintenance job into a 2 to 3 hour job that requires fuel system depressurization, careful handling of fuel lines and electrical connections, and proper fuel tank reinstallation and sealing. Most DIY owners won't attempt that themselves because of the complexity and risk of fuel leaks or electrical damage, so they take it to a dealer or shop and pay $250 to $350 for what should be basic routine maintenance. Multiply that cost over the life of ownership every 10,000 to 15,000 miles, and it adds up to thousands of extra dollars spent versus a twin cam. Another example, oil changes. On a twin cam, the oil filter is typically mounted on the front of the engine in an easily accessible location. You can reach it, spin it off, clean the mounting surface, install the new filter, and be done in 5 minutes as part of a routine oil change. On many M8 models, especially touring bikes, the oil filter is tucked up under the frame in an awkward position that's difficult to reach and incredibly messy to change. You need specific tools, often a filter claw or strap wrench, to get enough leverage. Oil spills everywhere when you remove it because of the angle. It's frustrating and time-consuming even for experienced mechanics. Again, this pushes more owners to pay shops rather than doing it themselves. Little design decisions like this add up over years of ownership. The M8 is just more expensive and more inconvenient to maintain than a twin cam for routine services. And when major repairs are needed, the cost differential becomes staggering. Let's say you need to replace cam chain tensioners, which is a common job on both engines. On a twin cam, it's a 4 to 6 hour job for a competent mechanic. Parts cost maybe $200 to $400 depending on whether you use OEM or aftermarket. Total cost at an independent shop might be $800 to $200. On a Milwaukee-Eight, the same job is more complex because of the engine design and packaging, taking 6 to 8 hours. Parts cost is higher because there are fewer aftermarket options, and OEM M8 parts command premium pricing. You're looking at $200 to $100 total cost, possibly more at a dealer. Now let's talk about a major failure like a spun bearing or damaged crankshaft requiring a bottom-end rebuild. On a twin cam, a good independent shop can do a complete lower-end rebuild for $4,000 to $6,000 in parts and labor. On an M8, you're looking at $7,000 to $10,000 minimum, possibly $12,000 at a dealer. The complexity, the higher parts cost, the longer labor times, all of it adds up. And if you have a 2017 to 2019 M8 that needs a rebuild due to oil sumping damage, good luck getting Harley to cover it under warranty. Most claims are denied with Harley blaming inadequate maintenance or customer misuse. You're stuck with a $10,000 repair bill on a bike that's maybe 5 or 6 years old. That never happened with twin cams on that scale. Yes, twin cams had expensive failures sometimes, but not catastrophic systematic failures affecting entire model years like the M8 oil sumping issue. Let's address the elephant in the room: power output. M8 defenders will say, but the Milwaukee-Eight makes significantly more power than the twin cam, so of course it's a better engine. More power equals better. End of discussion. On the surface, the numbers seem to support this. The 107 cubic inch M8 makes approximately 92 horsepower and 110 foot-pounds of torque. The 114 cubic inch M8 makes approximately 100 horsepower and 119 foot-pounds. The 117 cubic inch M8 CVO engine makes around 105 horsepower and 125 foot-pounds. Those are solid, respectable numbers. Compare that to a stock twin cam 103, which made about 75 horsepower and 90 foot-pounds of torque, or a stock twin cam 96 making around 65 horsepower and 80 foot-pounds. Yes, the M8 makes significantly more power stock to stock, roughly 20 to 25% more across the board. So checkmate, the M8 wins on power. Discussion over, right? Not so fast. Here's the thing that Harley's marketing conveniently ignores. For For 95% of actual Harley riders in the real world, the extra power the M8 provides doesn't matter in any meaningful way. If you're touring on highways, cruising back roads, commuting to work, riding to rallies and events, the twin cam 103 or 96 has more than enough power to do everything you need. You're not drag racing, you're not doing track days, you're not competing in any scenario where peak horsepower matters. You're riding on public roads where the speed limit tops out at 70 to 75 mph. A twin cam will get you to 75 mph and cruise there all day long without breaking a sweat. It has enough power to pass slower traffic safely. It has enough torque to pull loaded touring bikes with passengers and luggage up mountain grades. It does everything a touring motorcycle needs to do. And here's the critical point. If you want more power from a twin cam, it's incredibly easy and affordable. To get it through basic modifications, Stage 1 upgrade, high-flow air cleaner, slip-on or full exhaust system, and a fuel tuner. Cost, $500 to $2,000. Result, 85 to 90 horsepower and 95 to 100 foot-pounds of torque, putting you right in the ballpark of a stock M8 107. Want even more? Add cams. A good set of performance cams installed and tuned will cost $2,000 to $2,500 and get you to 95 to 100 horsepower and 105 to 110 foot-pounds, matching or exceeding a stock M8 114. Want to go even further? Big bore kit, 110 or 113 cubic inches with heads and cams. You're now at 5,000 to 7,000 all in, and you're making 110 to 120 horsepower and 120 to 130 foot-pounds, absolutely destroying a stock M8 and matching or beating an M8 CVO 117. And all of that costs less than the depreciation hit you take buying a new M8 bike. Plus, there's a massive mature aftermarket for twin cam performance parts. Because the engine has been around for over 2 decades, you have dozens of reputable companies offering cams, heads, pistons, cylinders, everything you could possibly want. Companies like S. Andrews, Fueling, RevTech, Screamin' Eagle, all competing for your business, which keeps prices reasonable and quality high. The M8 aftermarket is still catching up. There are performance parts available, but the selection is smaller and prices are higher because there's less competition and the platform is newer. And here's another kicker. Modifying a twin cam for more power is generally easier and cheaper than modifying an M8 because the twin cam is simpler. You don't need as sophisticated a tune because it's a 2-valve per cylinder engine with simpler airflow dynamics. You can get great results with basic bolt-on parts and a off-the-shelf tune. The M8 requires more sophisticated custom tuning because of the 4-valve per cylinder design and more complex engine management. So yes, the M8 makes more stock power, but if power is genuinely what you want and need, it's easier, cheaper, and more straightforward to build power from a twin cam platform. And you end up with an engine that sounds better, has more character, is cheaper to maintain, and is more reliable long-term in the process. Let's talk about vibration, which is another area where Harley's marketing presents the M8 as superior, but the reality is more nuanced. One of the primary marketing points Harley used to sell the Milwaukee-Eight to customers was that it has significantly less vibration than the twin cam because of improved engine balance, redesigned counterbalancing, and rubber mounting systems. And it's true, the M8 does vibrate noticeably less than a twin cam, especially at idle and low RPM. It's a smoother, more refined, more civilized engine from a vibration standpoint. For some riders, particularly those who do a lot of long-distance touring or who have medical issues that make vibration uncomfortable, that smoothness is genuinely beneficial. They want a comfortable, smooth ride that doesn't beat them up over 500 miles. I understand that perspective. But for traditional Harley-Davidson riders, the riders who grew up with panheads, shovelheads, and evolutions, the riders who chose Harleys specifically because they were raw and mechanical and visceral, vibration is part of the authentic Harley experience. Harleys are supposed to vibrate, that rumble, that mechanical feel, that sense that you're riding a powerful air-cooled V-twin engine with 45-degree cylinders and 90 years of heritage. All of that comes partly from the vibration, the shake at idle, the buzz in the bars at highway speed, the feeling transmitted through the seat and pegs. That's what makes a Harley feel like a Harley. It's the connection between rider and machine. The Milwaukee-Eight is so smooth and refined that many riders describe it as feeling sterile, disconnected, soulless. You could close your eyes and think you're on a Honda Goldwing or a BMW Cruiser or any other modern touring bike. There's nothing distinctly Harley about the feel anymore. That's not what traditional Harley riders want. They want to feel the engine. They want that visceral connection. Multiple longtime Harley riders have told me they prefer the character and feel of their twin cams even though they vibrate more, precisely because the vibration makes the bike feel alive and authentic. The M8 is too smooth, too refined, too sanitized. It's lost the rawness and character that defined Harley-Davidson motorcycles for over a century. Again, this comes down to Harley trying to appeal to a broader market, trying to compete with Japanese and European touring bikes on smoothness and refinement, and in the process, alienating their core customer base who chose Harleys specifically because they were different, because they were rough around the edges, because they had personality. The M8 is Harley trying to be something they're not, and many traditional Harley riders consider the reduced vibration a significant downgrade, not an upgrade. This is subjective, I acknowledge that. Some people love the smoothness of the M8 and would never go back to a twin cam, but a very vocal and significant portion of Harley's traditional customer base feels the opposite. They feel Harley has lost its way, that the M8 represents a betrayal of what Harley-Davidson is supposed to be. And that matters because those traditional customers are Harley's most loyal, their highest lifetime value customers, the people who've bought multiple Harleys over decades. When you alienate those customers in pursuit of hypothetical new customers who might prefer smoothness, you're playing a very dangerous game. Now, let's discuss proven reliability and longevity over extended time periods, which is one of the most important factors in choosing an engine platform, but one where we don't yet have complete data for the M8. The twin-cam platform was in production from 1999 to 2017. That's 18 full years, nearly 2 decades of continuous production, refinement, problem-solving, and real-world testing. During that time, millions of twin-cam engines were built and ridden in every conceivable condition: desert heat, mountain cold, coastal salt air, urban stop and go, highway superslab touring, off-road abuse, rally riding, commuter duty. The twin cam has been tested in the real world more thoroughly than almost any engine in history. And the data is clear. The platform evolved and improved over time. Early problems like the plastic tensioner shoes and some bearing issues were identified and fixed. By the later years of production, roughly 2010 onwards, the twin-cam 96, 103, and 110 engines were solid, reliable, durable platforms. Yes, they required maintenance. Yes, they had some common wear items, but if you maintained them properly, changed oil regularly, monitored and addressed the known common issues, they would last. There are documented twin-cam bikes with 150,000 miles, 200,000 miles, even 250,000 plus miles on the original engine with nothing more than regular maintenance and replacement of normal wear items. We know the twin-cam can last. We have nearly 2 decades of real-world data, hundreds of thousands of high-mileage examples proving it. The Milwaukee-Eight has only been in production since 2017. That's 8 years as of 2025. We don't yet have sufficient long-term data to know how M8 engines will hold up at 100,000 miles, 50,000 miles, 200,000 miles. We don't have examples of M8 engines with extremely high mileage that have been meticulously maintained and documented over decades. The platform is too new. And what we do know from the first 8 years is concerning. The oil sumping issues in 2017 to 2019 models mean a significant percentage of those engines absolutely will not make it to 100,000 miles without requiring major repairs or complete rebuilds. Even if you maintain them perfectly, the design defect will cause problems. The cam chain tensioner issues showing up in bikes with medium mileage, 30,000 to 50,000 miles, suggest there may be durability problems we haven't fully discovered yet. We're essentially still in the early stages of the M8's life cycle, still discovering its weaknesses and failure modes. Compare that to the twin cam where we know everything. Every weak point has been identified. Every problem has a known solution. Every failure mode has been studied. There are no surprises left with the twin cam. It's a completely understood platform. The M8 is still revealing its problems. Now, Harley will argue, and M8 defenders will claim, that they've fixed the early problems and that 2020 plus M8 engines with the updated oil pump and any other running changes are significantly more reliable. Maybe that's true, but we won't know for certain for another 10 to 15 years when those 2020 plus bikes accumulate high mileage and we can see how they hold up long term. In the meantime, from a risk management and smart buying perspective, I'd rather own a proven twin cam. With 18 years of production history, millions of examples on the road, and known solutions to every common problem, than a relatively new M8 platform where we're still discovering issues and don't have long-term durability data. The twin cam is a known quantity. The risk is quantified and manageable. The M8 is still being proven. The long-term risk is unknown. From a rational decision-making standpoint, the twin cam is the safer, smarter choice. Let's talk about resale value and market perception, because this is where the oil sumping disaster has permanently damaged the Milwaukee-Eight's reputation and value proposition. Right now, in late 2025, the used motorcycle market is treating 2017 to 2019 Milwaukee-Eight bikes dramatically differently than both twin-cam bikes and 2020 plus M8 bikes. Specifically, 2017 to 2019 M8 bikes are being discounted 15 to 25% compared to equivalent 2020 plus M8 models purely because of the oil pump issue. A 2019 Street Glide with 15,000 miles might be worth $18,000. A 2020 Street Glide with similar miles is worth $22,000 to $23,000. That's a $4,000 to $5,000 difference purely based on the oil pump redesign. The 2019 and 2020 are otherwise virtually identical bikes. Same styling, same features, same everything except the oil pump internals. But the market recognizes the defect and prices it accordingly. That stigma will follow 2017 to 2019 M8 bikes forever. 20 years from now, when someone is shopping for a used Harley, they'll still avoid 2017 to 2019 M8s because the oil sumping issue is now part of the historical record. Meanwhile, a well-maintained late twin cam, like a 2015, 2016, or 2017 model, holds its value significantly better because buyers know it's a mature, sorted platform without catastrophic design defects. You can buy a 2016 twin cam 103 Road King today and know exactly what you're getting. It's proven, it's reliable if maintained, it has no hidden design flaws waiting to destroy the engine. That peace of mind has value in the used market. In the collector and enthusiast market, which determines long-term value for older motorcycles, I predict twin cams will age significantly better than Milwaukee-Eights. The twin cam will be remembered as the last real Harley engine, the last one with character and soul, before Harley went soft and refined with the M8. Just like Evolution Harleys are beloved and collectible now for being the last of the old-school Harleys before modern fuel injection and complex electronics, twin cams will achieve similar status eventually. They'll be seen as the end of an era, the last Harley engines that felt and sounded like traditional Harleys. Dynas with twin cams are already becoming collectible, commanding strong prices for clean examples. The M8 will be seen as the beginning of modern Harley's decline, the engine that represented Harley's identity crisis and attempt to be something they're not. That perception is already forming among enthusiasts and collectors. Motorcycle forums, Facebook groups, YouTube comments, the sentiment is clear. Traditional Harley riders love twin cams and tolerate or dislike M8s. 20 or 30 years from now, collectors will pay premiums for clean, low-mileage twin-cam Dynas, Softails, and touring bikes. They'll be desirable precisely because they represent old-school Harley character. M8 bikes will just be seen as generic modern motorcycles that happen to wear Harley badges. There's nothing special or distinctive about them to make them collectible. Now let's address the argument that M8 defenders always make. The twin cam had tons of serious problems too. Cam chain tensioners, cam bearing failures, crankshaft runout issues, compensator problems, stator failures, heat issues, oil pump failures. How can you possibly say the twin cam is better when it had all those problems? Here's my answer. Yes, the twin cam absolutely had problems. No question, no argument. I'm not claiming the twin cam was perfect or problem-free. The early twin-cam 88 engines, especially 1999 to 2006 models, had serious, legitimate issues with the plastic cam chain tensioner shoes that wore out prematurely and sometimes catastrophically. That was genuinely bad engineering. Some twin cams, particularly certain year ranges, had cam bearing failures due to the caged INA needle bearings Harley used. Those bearings would fail, usually at 30,000 to 60,000 miles, requiring expensive engine teardowns to replace. That was a real problem. Some twin cams had crankshaft runout issues causing excessive vibration and accelerated wear. Some had compensator problems causing noise and mechanical issues. Some had stator failures leaving riders stranded. These are all documented, acknowledged problems. I'm not denying any of that. But here's the critical difference that M8 defenders ignore. All of those twin cam problems were identified, studied, understood, and solved over the 18 years of production. By the time you get to 2010 plus twin cams, and especially 2012 to 2017 models, most of those early problems were addressed either through running production changes from Harley or through well-known aftermarket solutions. Cam chain tensioners were improved. Later models used better bearings. Harley addressed crankshaft and compensator issues. The charging system was improved. If you buy a 2012 to 2017 twin cam today, especially a 103 or 110, you're getting an engine that benefited from over a decade of problem solving and refinement. It's a mature, sorted, debugged platform. Every weakness is known and has a solution. Compare that to the Milwaukee-Eight. The oil sumping problem, which is catastrophic and affects the fundamental reliability of the engine, existed from day one in 2017 and wasn't fixed until 2020. 3 full model years of defective engines sold to unsuspecting customers. And we're still only 8 years into the M8's production life. We're still discovering other M8 problems like the cam chain tensioner. Issues, potential valve train durability concerns, questions about how the 4 valve heads will hold up over 100+ miles. In another decade or two, maybe the M8 will be as sorted and thoroughly understood as late twin cams are now. But right now, in December 2025, I would much rather own a proven 2015 or 2016 twin cam 103 with known characteristics and solutions to every problem than a 2019 M8 107 with a defective oil pump and unknown long-term durability. The twin cam had its problems, worked through them over 18 years, and became a solid, reliable platform by the end. The M8 is still working through its problems, and we don't yet know what the final verdict will be. That uncertainty alone makes the twin cam the better choice for risk-averse buyers. Let me summarize this entire comparison across all the metrics that matter for real-world ownership. Reliability. Twin cam wins, especially late models versus early M8s with oil sumping. Sound and character. Twin cam wins significantly, no contest. Heat management. Tie. Both engines run hot and neither solve the problem. Vibration. M8 wins if you want refinement. Twin cam wins if you want character and connection. Repairability. Twin cam wins decisively, much simpler and easier to work on. Cost of ownership. Twin cam wins decisively. Lower maintenance costs, lower repair costs, better parts availability and pricing. Power. M8 wins stock for stock, but twin cam wins on cost effectiveness of modifications and bang for your buck. Proven longevity. Twin cam wins with 18 years of data versus M8's 8 years. Aftermarket support. Twin cam wins with more options, more competition, better pricing. Resale value. Twin cam holding value better, especially compared to 2017-2019 M8s with defect stigma. Collectability and future value. Twin cam will age better as the last real Harley engine. Let's tally it up. The Milwaukee-Eight wins on stock power output and vibration smoothness. That's it. 2 categories. The twin cam wins or ties in every other category that matters for actual ownership. And yet Harley's marketing, dealerships, and M8 fanboys will tell you the M8 is superior in every way and everyone should trade in their twin cams for new M8 bikes. That's complete nonsense. It's sales propaganda designed to move new inventory and generate revenue. The truth is, if you have a well-maintained 2010 plus twin cam, especially a 103 or 110, you have a better overall motorcycle engine than most Milwaukee-Eights, especially 2017 to 2019 models. Here's my final advice. If you currently own a twin cam, do not let Harley dealers or M8 fanboys convince you to trade it in and upgrade to an M8. Keep your twin cam, maintain it properly according to the service manual. Address the known common issues preventatively. Tensioners, bearings, whatever your specific year and model requires. If you want more power, add Stage 1 modifications or cams. If you want better heat management, install an oil cooler and heat shields. Your twin cam will last as long as you want to keep it if you take care of it. You'll spend far less money over the long run than buying a new M8, and you'll have a bike with more character and soul. If you're shopping for a used Harley and deciding between a late twin cam or an early M8, buy the twin cam every single time. You'll save money on purchase price. You'll get a proven platform without design defects. You'll have lower cost of ownership. You'll have more character. You'll avoid the oil sumping nightmare entirely. A 2015 or 2016 twin cam 103 or 110 is a better buy than a 2017, 2018, or 2019 M8, period. No question. If you're considering buying a brand new Harley with the current Milwaukee-Eight, understand exactly what you're getting. Yes, it makes more power stock. Yes, it's smoother with less vibration, but it's also more complex, more expensive to maintain and repair, and it doesn't sound or feel like a traditional Harley. If those things matter to you, seriously consider buying a low-mileage used late twin cam instead. You'll save $10,000 to $15,000. You'll get a bike with more character, and you'll be happier long-term. The Milwaukee-Eight represents everything that's wrong with modern Harley-Davidson. They overcomplicated the engine in an attempt to appeal to riders who don't want Harleys anyway. They introduced it with a catastrophic design defect and refused to recall it. They sacrificed the character and soul that made Harleys special in favor of smoothness and refinement. And they're charging customers premium prices for a platform that's objectively not as good overall as what it replaced. The twin cam wasn't perfect. I've acknowledged its problems repeatedly. But it was a real Harley engine with soul, character, sound, and ultimately reliability when properly maintained. The Milwaukee-Eight is a soulless, over-engineered attempt to make Harleys like Japanese bikes, and in that process, Harley lost what made them Harley-Davidson. That's the truth. That's what mechanics see every day. That's what longtime Harley riders know. The Milwaukee-Eight is worse than the twin cam in all the ways that actually matter. What do you think? Do you agree the twin cam is better overall than the M8? Do you own both and have a preference? Are you a mechanic who works on both platforms regularly? Have you experienced the problems I've described? Drop your thoughts, experiences, and opinions in the comments section. Let's have a real, honest conversation about this. Subscribe to this channel for controversial, honest motorcycle content that challenges manufacturers' marketing and tells you the truth. Hit that like button if you appreciate content that goes against conventional wisdom and popular opinion. Share this video with twin cam owners who are being pressured to upgrade to M8s. Thanks for watching. Keep your twin cam, maintain it, love it, and remember, the best Harley engine is the one that was built before they tried to make. It's smooth, quiet, and refined like everything else.